Turn to President Trump, who looms large over the city, given his proposed funding cuts and his interest in hometown affairs. Democrats say they want a mayor who will stand up to him. Mr. Cuomo, you've branded the president a bully. Mr. Stringer, you called him a schmuck. And Mr. Lander, you put his name on a car and crushed it in a TV ad. But voters want to know how you will actually deal with the president if you are elected mayor. We have questions for each of you, and you'll all have 1 minute to answer. Mr. Cuomo, we'll start with you. You have experience collaborating and battling the president. Currently, his Justice Department is investigating you, following a criminal referral from Congress, alleging you lied during testimony about your involvement in a report that undercounted nursing home deaths during COVID. With that probe underway, how do you ensure voters that you would not be compromised in your dealings with the president if you were elected mayor?
Yeah. Well, this is what Mr. Trump does, right? He started an investigation against me, against Kathy Hochul, against Senator Chuck Schumer, against Hillary Clinton. This is one of his tactics. I know how to deal with Donald Trump because I've dealt with him before. Many times, we've had many encounters. We fought on a daily basis through COVID, and I won many of those battles. I fought him on ice. This is not the first time he's brought ice to New York. He's done that before, and we fought him and we won. So he can be beaten, but he has to know that he's up against an adversary who can actually beat him. And I can tell you this, I am the last person on this stage that Mr. Trump wants to see as mayor, and that's why I should be the first choice for the people of the city to have as mayor.
To follow up on that, though, Democrats also raised some concerns about your testimony, so it wasn't only Republicans. But just putting partisan politics aside for a minute, how would you respond to voters about the congressional findings of your involvement in that report?
Yeah, first, putting partisan politics aside is virtually impossible nowadays. It's so toxic out there. The issue of COVID became a political football right away. It still is a political football between Democrats and Republicans, and even within the Democratic Party and within the Republican Party. And it's unfortunate. We should have been learning from the experience and finding out how we could be better prepared for the next time. But unfortunately, in this toxic environment, it's been nothing but politicized over and over again.
Okay, we have to move on, but I just want to add that the question was, how would you respond to the allegations? But we have to move on.
Melissa.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani, you have said that Mr. Trump's Department of Justice can't be trusted, and that was after the news broke of Mr. Cuomo's alleged reported DOJ investigation. First, quickly, just a yes or no answer. Do you think that President Trump is unfairly targeting Mr. Cuomo?
No, I don't think that it's unfair, but I have no interest in believing that they're actually pursuing justice.
Okay. Second part of my question.
And to be clear, it's not unfair because Andrew Cuomo did lie to Congress, but ultimately we know that the Trump Justice Department and the Trump administration as a whole is interested more in vindictiveness and persecution of political enemies than in anything to do with justice.
Okay, so moving forward, you are also a socialist, and because of that, why wouldn't President Trump target you and, by extension, target New Yorkers? You have 1 minute.
President Trump will target whomever is the next mayor of the city. President Trump even targeted his, in many ways, accomplice, Mayor Eric Adams, who has collaborated with the Trump administration at almost every opportunity. And still, in the midst of that collaboration, we saw that New Yorkers are being taken off the streets in their apartment building lobbies. We have $80 million being taken out of our city bank account. So I don't think there's any question that there's any mayor here that will be free from being attacked by Donald Trump. What's more important, however, is that we have a mayor who will actually fight back. And that's what I will do. I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to break fundraising records and put our campaign in second place.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani, thank you. Mr. Cuomo, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, please. Mr. Mamdani is very good on Twitter and with videos, but he actually produces nothing. for him to accuse me of lying. He also called President Obama a liar and said President Obama was evil. So take everything with a grain of salt. Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mondani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington, no experience in New York City. He would be Trump's delight.
All right, brief response, Mr. Mamdani, then we have to move on.
Look, it's true that I don't have experience with corrupt Trump billionaires who are funding my campaign. I don't have experience with party politics and insider consultants. I do have experience, however, with winning $450 million in debt relief for thousands of working-class taxi drivers and actually delivering it to the working-class people.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Lander, you've presented yourself as a tough-talking Trump resistor, but as mayor, you're expected to deliver, including aid for the city. So how can you do that if you're always at war with the president? You have 1 minute.
Look, when Donald Trump and Elon Musk stole that $80 million from New York City's bank account, I uncovered it, I rang the alarm bell, and I forced the mayor into court to get it back. You stand up and fight. You go into court when you are in the right. 1 week after he was elected, I became the first financial officer anywhere in the country to lay out where all that federal money comes into our budget with a really concrete plans for how we put money in reserve so we'll be able to respond. But look, with all the corruption that's in Washington, we can't have corruption here in New York City as well. It's not only that Andrew Cuomo lied to Congress, which is perjury, he also lied to the grieving families whose loved ones he sent into those nursing homes to protect his $5 million book deal. That's corruption. That's what I crushed in that junkyard. So when I'm mayor, I will stand up to Donald Trump. I will make sure that we've got a budget that's ready. So when they come for our Medicaid, we've got an independent authority ready to keep providing reproductive health care, housing, and education for all.
Mr. Cuomo, would you like to respond?
Yeah, please. Mr. Lander is a little loose with the facts. If he wants to talk about the facts on nursing homes, we'll talk about the facts. He's just parroting Trump's allegations,
I said it long before he did.
Which were actually disproven by the federal government now.
Which ones are you talking about specifically?
In terms of the rate of deaths in nursing homes, New York is number 38 out of 50. Number 38. Only 12 states had a lower rate of death, which is really something when you consider that we had it first and worse than anyone else. And when it comes to corruption, Mr. Lander knows corruption because his office approved $500,000 of contracts to organizations associated with his wife, which he said his deputy
I would really just like to clear
even though the deputy reported to him.
I would just like to clear one thing up, Mr. Cuomo.
It's part of the corruption of the city.
It's a lie, and you know it, every word. Lies
I hear
all the
you.
time.
But the question is whether or not it's political and whether or not your congressional testimony was truthful. Were you, now that you've had time to reflect, involved in producing that report that undercounted those nursing home deaths?
Oh, there was no doubt that my administration produced the report, and it did not undercount the deaths.
Okay, but you're still saying you were not involved in producing it.
It's very clear. That's the Trump line, the MAGA line, right? Because this was during the Trump reelection.
Okay.
The New York reports always counted the number of deaths where they occurred, in a nursing home or in a hospital.
Okay.
Now that all the dust is clear.
Okay, we have to move on, though. We have to give other people a chance. We'll all have a lot more time on other subjects.
It's a yes or no.
It's a very easy answer.
All right, hold on, candidates.
Did you lie to Congress?
All right.
Will you acknowledge the deaths?
Okay.
I mean, it's a very black and white.
Okay.
Did you lie to Congress, or will you acknowledge the death?
All right,
15,000 people died, and he still won't answer your question.
All right, here's the chance to answer the question as Melissa presented it.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
No, I told Congress the truth. No, we did not undercount any deaths. When they are all counted, we're number 38 out of 50, which I think shows that compared to what other states went through, we had it first and worst, and that only 12 states had a lower rate of death. We should really be thanking the women and men who worked in those nursing homes and did an extraordinary job.
Very quick yes or no follow-up, if I may. Just the question is, were you involved in the producing of that report? It's just a yes or no question.
I was very aware of the report. I spoke to it at press conferences.
No, before it was
multiple
released,
times,
Mr.
and I
Cuomo. The
stand
question is
by
about the
report.
production of the report, the
Answer.
creation.
All right, I think-
Okay, we're going to move on. We're not getting an answer. We're
I
not going to.
stand by the report.
It was
Okay.
just whether or not you were involved.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Mr. Myrie, Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul have negotiated with Trump. Former Governor Cuomo has as well. As mayor, what experience would you bring to the table with President Trump?
Well, let me just say to the people watching at home who are afraid to send their children to school, to the families who are afraid to show up to court proceedings, seeing agents snatch people up doing the right thing, I want to speak directly to you in this moment because you're not hearing that communication. You're not hearing about a mayor that is going to stand up and have a backbone to stand up for our city. I'm the son of 2 undocumented immigrants who came here for opportunity. My parents could take me to school. They could take me to the hospital without fear of deportation because they knew the city would have their back. That's the kind of mayor that I'm going to be, one that stands up when necessary. Of course, we're going to work with the president when it's in the best interest of the city. But what he has demonstrated over these past 6 months is that he is not interested in helping the city. We have to grow our tax base so that we can be independent from the federal government. And that's why I have a plan to deliver 1 million homes over the next 10 years. It's why I want free after school for every kid in this city. And it's why I want to extend pre-K and 3K to 6 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Myrie. Rosarina?
Thank you, Melissa. Ms. Ramos, vamos a hablar de Trump ahora. You talked about fighting President Trump, but you also said in a campaign questionnaire that you seek partnership with him. How do you envision working together with him? You have a minute.
You know, I've already seen a very clear blueprint about how to elegantly school President Trump. And we saw it in Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and how she led on negotiating the tariff scandal with the president. And so I'm here to say that not only should my administration litigate to protect immigrants, to protect gender-affirming care, but we should be ready to withhold our federal taxes when Trump unlawfully takes away funding from the things that we need. We have to play chess, and we have to be smart, and our taxpayer dollars are our leverage.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Mr. Stringer, the next question goes to you. Fighting Trump has been a key element of your campaign. Is there anything that Trump wants that you will be willing to give him in exchange for something that the city needs? You have a minute.
Look, this is why it's so critical to elect a mayor with real experience negotiating, experience understanding what the stakes are here. Look, Donald Trump is coming for New York City. He's hell-bent on collapsing the social safety net. He wants to pick kids off the streets, but he also wants to destroy everything we've built in America, in this city. So I know how to fight him because I fought him in Trump 1. When he was coming after us, I managed to divest $4 billion from fossil fuel. I divested from private prisons. I divested from gun manufacturers. He didn't slow me down. He sped me up. But right now, we need a mayor who's going to put aside $1 billion in a very, very rainy day fund. We need a mayor who's going to insist that the banks and the next controller come to the table and strategize about how we have a short-term plan to get the city to the congressional elections. No one has more experience in city government and knows how to do that than
But
me.
Mr. Stringer, the question is, if he wants something in exchange, will you give it to him?
I'm not quid pro quoing with Trump. What I'm going to do, and this is my strategy, is I'm going to organize the same thing that happened during the days when Ford said to New York, drop dead. We're going to go to the business community. I'm going to go to our congressional leadership, Schumer and Jeffries. I'm going to organize this city and the city government to wage a fight in Washington to protect the epicenter of the national economy, which is New York City.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Mr. Tilson now. And the question goes to you, saying you've been blasting Mr. Trump since 2016 when you reported, call him El Diablo in Spanish, the devil. As mayor, how can you make a deal with him? We're talking about pact with the deal, with the devil.
Look, I think I've been fighting Trump and Trumpism since long before then, since he came down that escalator 10 years ago this month. But I do think we Democrats have to stop giving Trump gifts, like when we let ourselves be defined by our far left, by socialists with their defund the police nonsense and open borders, et cetera. One area that I do agree with Trump is that when a socialist like Zoran here tweets that the NYPD is, quote, wicked and calls to defund and dismantle the NYPD, that is madness, that is costing us elections. And it's why Trump has doubled his share of the New York City vote in the last 3 elections from 17% to 30%. We've got to move away from the far left and the socialism that's sinking our party and our city.
Brief response, Mr. Mamdani.
I want to be very clear that police have a critical role to play in creating public safety. And when I speak to those very officers on the beat, in the rank and file, I hear from them a frustration that where they join the force to tackle serious crimes, we are instead now asking them to play the roles of mental health professionals and social workers. And that is why we are putting forward a plan to create a Department of Community Safety that will tackle gun violence, homelessness, the mental health crisis.
All right, Mr. Mamdani, we might get to some of those issues. I just wanted a brief response to
It's critically important, and I think it's important in a moment when we have a candidate to my right who is absolutely mischaracterizing anything that we've put forward in this campaign.
You can check his Twitter feed. He has not deleted the tweet that calls the NYPD wicked and to defund and dismantle the NYPD. It's still up.
Thank you, Mr. Tilson.
All right, thank you. Mr. Blake,
those tweets.
You often highlight your past roles in the Obama administration and in leadership of the National Democratic Party, which has since lost the White House and is struggling to regroup. How does that make you effective when it comes to negotiating with President Trump if you were mayor? You have 1 minute.
Well, as the only person on the stage who's been a part of a team that has actually defeated Donald Trump, and as a black man who understands that Trump goes after black folk, just ask the Exonerated Five or Barack Obama, and like them, we will win. I have the experience to make sure we address what's happening in New York City. First and foremost, anytime Trump and Elon try to take our funds, we will withhold taxes and sending in D.C., specifically working with companies that have contracts in New York City and say, you will not abide by unconstitutional behavior. Second, we will ban ICE at our schools and our places of worship. We will designate them as safe havens because there is no reason at all that ICE is going after our immigrants, in particular families like mine from Jamaica. Third, since I have White House experience under President Obama, State House experience locally, as well as what's happening as a reverend and a community leader, you need to understand that there is someone right now who can lead New York City. You have heard people now not be able to answer the question, but they're saying they can actually represent you. I am ready from day one because of what I have. From the White House to the State House to your house,
All right,
Michael
thank
Blake
you,
is
Mr.
ready
Blake.
to lead.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Ms. Adams, your most powerful campaign supporter is New York Attorney General Letitia James, an arch rival of President Trump. How would you ensure that you, and by extension New Yorkers, are not a casualty of their war? You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. And you mentioned the Attorney General. She is the most notorious, the baddest Attorney General that New York and the nation has ever seen. And yes, she does endorse me. You know, when the name Donald Trump comes up, the first thing that the advice that I get from the Attorney General is that when Donald Trump comes your way and causes problems for New Yorkers, sue him. That is exactly what I am doing right now as we speak. We have an executive order that is in front of us that is illegal, that Mayor Eric Adams had his first deputy mayor sign. The mayor didn't even sign it, but the first deputy mayor signed it. And it would allow ICE to come onto Rikers Island, Donald Trump's ICE, to come onto Rikers Island, which has been illegal since the year 2014. I have a TRO, a temporary restraining order, that Judge Rosado feels that our case has merit. We have sued him, and New York will win. I will always be a mayor that will stand up for our immigrants. Donald Trump's ICE has no place on Rikers Island. Donald Trump's ICE has no place pulling our people that are taking their legal court dates now. No rights.
Thank you.
Not in my New York.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Sally.